So, we've been doing a lot of stuff with tissue tension release techniques, and I really feel that everybody's jumping into the more is better thought process of mobility and tissue release as well, just the same as weights. Just think, more is better, more reps, more weight. And what we've done is we're using a very, very soft, it's not really a firm inflated dodgeball, but it is a playground dodgeball. You can see that. It's got a little bit of tension. But anyway, what we're doing is we're working on all the areas that you pretty much neglect, that is too hard to hit with other spots. Sure, you can get the rectus abdominis connection to your rib cage with a lacrosse ball, but how does it really feel? So you're pinpointing when you start using those harder, balls like tennis ball, lacrosse ball. Just remember that we want to work globally as well. We want to make sure, and Sam's working into the rib cage and working on some of the intercostal, some of the obliques and stuff like that, that you just aren't going to use. You're not going to hit all that stuff with a lacrosse ball. So now we're going to start working into broader ranges of motion on the chest, hitting into the serratus and lats, going into the front delt, and basically all the motion. See that swimming action? We want our joint to be fluid. So if we're crushing it on, you're only in the spot that you're doing a snatch or a kettlebell snatch or Olympic jerk or something like that, and you're really cramming on the sticking point, we also want the ability to get into that position very well. So I think before we dig the hole super, super deep, we want to hit the first couple inches of the soil. So basically, what we're doing is we're freeing up the skin, we're freeing up the subcutaneous tissue, basically the smaller, say you might have some trigger points in, in the really close to the skin tissue, not so deep just yet to warrant using a super, super hard ball. So if you get better mobility from something that's very, very light, why not try it? So Sam might really not need to drive that, drive that lacrosse ball into his front delt. He might actually need to hit a little bit of everything. And why? This larger ball, you can see it's hitting everything. He can rotate internally, externally, rotate his arm without clunking over the tissue with the lacrosse ball, with some of the other mobility tools. But the reason why I'm doing this video is just to make you think about getting some of the subcutaneous tissue that's really, closer to the surface. Don't always think about digging the hole 10 feet deep if you don't need to. What we found, Sam, tell us about a little bit what we've done when we work the chest and work into the, into the shoulder joint and then some other stuff. What do you feel?
Range of motion immediately. It's like you find a lot of the surface stuff that's where it was, maybe not noticeable as much, where you'd normally just dig in. I mean, I felt like I could move a lot easier, and then I could find like the deeper points that really actually needed it.
Sam definitely knows. Sam's definitely in tune with his body, doing a lot of martial arts and stuff. He knows how, tightness. He knows how, things should move as far as a fluid motion, not just in a, kettlebell snatch is more fluid. A bench press, it's, everything's. But when you start moving, like that's what we try to teach down here is get you ready for making your everyday 1,000 repetition type weekly movements better. I mean, you might only do an Olympic snatch less than 50 times in a week, but what about the stuff like the repetitious movement of, picking up your kids and things like that when your shoulders are forward? It's not always maximally engaged, right? The kid's 20 pounds, but you're doing it how many times? So like, you got a bag of something that you carry when you work at the garden store, stuff like that, where it's not a crazy amount of tension, but your body molds into the shape that you put it into. If you're going to sit in the chair and get up and down, just the same chair for 8 hours a day, don't you feel like you start becoming to be molded to that position, right? And then the same thing is if you start doing a lot of lifting, your shoulders are always forward. Say you have to hold a larger object in front of you while someone loads it. Pretty soon your shoulders are going to start getting into that position. So what happens is you might even know that it's not the best position to be in, but we still need to do this softer work to reinforce the mobility. So it also, you can loosen up some of the lighter stuff. Basically, you know, the global aspect of this, we're hitting all sorts of things at once. Then when you figure out, oh wow, I'm still tight, but I know that it's my front delt, I know that it's my pec minor, then you can start using other tools more specific. Same thing when you first start training, think about, you know, powerlifting. I mean, some of the major things are bench, squat, and deads. But then what about people that have very little hamstring activation? So we're doing stiff leg deads, we're doing Romanian deads, we're doing leg curls to bring that up. There's your specification. There's your specific training. That's when you start getting into smaller stuff like this, where it just really digs in. But anyway, I mean, that feel pretty good?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Great.
Hop up and let's see if you, because we've done this once before we did this video. See if there's just anything that feels better for you.
Oh, yeah. Just, I mean, range of motion, a lot better. I mean, I don't feel, when I came in, my neck and my back was actually tight. And I thought, oh, I should roll on my back and, you know, stretch my neck. But then I did my abdominis and my chest, and now I'm just like, oh, yeah, everything's loose now.
Much more open.
So, yeah, much more open.
Because you got to think you're hitting, with that larger ball, you might not feel as such pinpointed pressure, but you're hitting all around it. Like you're making sure that when you're coloring it in, you're making sure that you hit the outline.
Right.
You're not just driving in just to slam it all, you know, slam all the color in like a 2-year-old, color it real good. But you know what I mean? Like we're really getting everything when we work with light and heavy.
Yeah, I mean, normally when I start out, I actually usually start out with this. I mean, I'm digging and grinding, and I'm like, you know, I'm trying to force things to release. Whereas this, I'm relaxing into it.
Right.
And this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, this has its place. This feels great at times, but I mean, like just this, I thought I was gonna have to really work my shoulders and back, and did my.
You might not have to now.
Yeah, exactly.
So this you can do a lot. What's going to happen is when you start getting on here, it's hard to get into, say, the bony prominences of your body. So rib cage area, the really soft, delicate areas, you know, like shoulder, edge of the shoulder blades. That's the last thing you want to do is really get some of that tissue really inflamed by driving in really hard. If you can get release with something that's much more gentle, do it. Right?
Sounds good.
Cool. See what happens. We'll keep doing a lot more of this stuff in the next week and month and see how you feel.